welcome back. Today on the channel, we're looking at the puzzling disappearance of Maura Murray. It's known as the first missing persons case of the social media age. After 17 years, why is Maura's case starting to get more attention all of a sudden? Let's get into it. In the early morning hours of February 9th, 2004, Maura Murray was using her computer to search for directions. The 21-year-old college student was studying nursing at the University of Massachusetts when she suddenly decided to take a trip. Later that day, at 1 p.m., she emailed her boyfriend, and she promised him that she would call him later that day. Now, during this time, Maura also made a phone call to a condo association. This was in Bartlett, New Hampshire. Her family had actually vacationed here before. She asked about renting a condominium in this call. At 1:24 p.m., Maura sent an email to the nursing faculty at her school. She said that there'd been a death in the family and she needed time off. She also said that she would email them when she got back. The thing is, there was no recent death in her family, so she wasn't telling the truth about this. Shortly after she sent this email, she called a phone number that played recorded information about booking hotels in Stowe, Vermont. At around 3:30, Maura left campus. She was driving a black 1996 Saturn sedan. This car is a very important part of the case, as we're about to see. 10 minutes after she left campus, she withdrew $280 from her bank account at an ATM. Footage from this event showed that she was alone at the time, and she was also alone when she purchased liquor shortly after this. Somewhere between 4 and 5 p.m. that day, Maura left Amherst, where her university was. This is where the story starts to get very strange. At around 7 p.m., a resident of Woodsville, New Hampshire, heard a distant thump. She peered out of her window on Route 112 and saw a car that was up against the snowbank. The witness then saw a neighbor pull up next to the car. The neighbor was a school bus driver returning home from work that day. He noticed that Maura didn't appear to be bleeding or injured, but she did seem cold and appeared to be shivering. So he offered to make a phone call for help, and Maura said, "Don't do that, don't call for help." There's a report that said that she actually pleaded with this person not to call the police. She said that she had already called AAA. But the thing is, there was no record of this call ever happening, and this school bus driver, he lived in the area, he knew that there was no cell phone reception there. When the bus driver got home, he called the police. When the responding police officer arrived at the location of the crash, he found a confusing scene. No one was inside of the locked car. Both airbags had been deployed, and the driver's side of the car was badly damaged. It appeared that Maura had struck a tree. The officer found stains that appeared to be red wine on the outside and inside of the car. He also discovered some important items: a AAA card belonging to Maura, directions to Burlington, Vermont, a book about climbing in the White Mountains, and blank accident report forms. Maura's debit card, credit card, and cell phone were all missing. Now, it turns out that this car crash was not the first accident Maura had been involved in. She was actually in another accident the morning before. Maura was driving her dad's car back from a party. Having borrowed the car, she was on her way to return it when she hit a guardrail. The crash caused about $10,000 worth of damage. The officer who showed up to the scene of the accident made an accident report, but there is no record of any field sobriety tests being conducted. This car crash was a troubling event in Maura's life, no doubt. She had another troubling event before this. She was actually charged with minor credit card fraud. She used a stolen credit card to make some food purchases. But luckily for Maura and her father, with this crash that she was in, it turns out that her father's insurance would cover this crash. That's why Maura had the accident forms in her car. The day after Maura disappeared, a be on the lookout notice was issued. On February 11th, New Hampshire Fish and Game, members of Maura's family, and others began to search the area where she vanished. During the search, a police dog actually tracked a scent. It was from Maura's gloves. This scent led the dog 100 yards east from where the vehicle was discovered. But the scent was lost, and this suggested to the police that she had left the area in another car. That's what they said at the time. Later that day, Maura's boyfriend and his family arrived as well, and they were there to help search. Now, this next detail is quite chilling. At some point during the flight, Maura's boyfriend received a strange voice message. When he turned on his phone after the flight, he listened to the recording. He believed that he heard the sound of Maura crying, which is a very disturbing voicemail to receive. The message that he received was traced. It turns out it came from a calling card that was issued by the American Red Cross. At this point, the case was quite complicated. The police reported that she might have been heading towards the Cancamegus highway area. Another word that I probably didn't pronounce properly. Every video, it seems like there's one of them, right? So now we're progressing in the investigation. 10 days have passed, and the FBI joins the search. This isn't something that happens all the time with searches. I mean, a lot of the searches I've looked at the FBI isn't involved. They actually talked to some of Maura's relatives that lived in Massachusetts. They wanted to find out more about this case. Now, at the same point of the investigation, the 10-day mark, the search was extended across the country. New Hampshire Fish and Game also conducted a second ground and air search. The search turned up no clues, and as weeks turned to years, the case turned cold. Now let's talk about some of the theories that surround this case. A quick notice that these theories are not the theories of law enforcement. The first theory is that Maura ran away. She was allegedly in financial trouble when she disappeared. The withdrawal that she had made from her bank account reportedly had emptied her bank account. She had also been in a car crash the day before. 2 car crashes in a row. People think that she was overwhelmed, and the fact that there was alcohol found at the scene, it's possible that she wasn't thinking rationally at the time either. When police searched Maura's dorm, it was discovered that there were boxes in her room she had packed up. There was a printed out email that was between her and her boyfriend, and this email outlined some problems with the relationship. These factors could have added together to create a situation that Maura wanted to run away from. But this isn't what Maura's father believes. Instead, he believes the second theory: Maura was taken by someone. Back in 2004, there was a man. He had an older brother who he thought was suspicious. He gave Maura's father a rusty knife, and he believed that knife was used to kill Maura. This person's brother and his brother's girlfriend were said to have been acting strangely at the time when Maura disappeared. Several days after the knife was given to Maura's father, the man's brother allegedly scrapped his Volvo. In October 2006, volunteers were searching a house about 1 mile away from where Maura disappeared. The searchers brought cadaver dogs, and the cadaver dogs started going crazy when they went to a closet in this house. It turns out that this house was previously owned by the man whose brother had given Maura's dad the rusty knife. So immediately there was some major suspicion about this. A sample of carpet from the home was sent to the New Hampshire State Police, but the results were never released to the public. The third theory is that Maura got lost in the woods. And this brings us to a recent update. On September 14th, 2021, a bone fragment was found on Loon Mountain, about 16 miles away from the site of Maura's crash on Route 112. According to Maura's sister, she had been to the area before. Reports say that this fragment is small. It's also reported that it will take 2 to 7 months to study this bone fragment and to determine if it's the remains of Maura. The area where this bone fragment was found is currently being investigated, but for now, Maura Murray's disappearance remains unsolved. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.